What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and it's time for the Week 4 College Football Playoff Eliminator, and we've got some new eliminations this week. Some slight changes, I guess, to the playoff picture in terms of top contenders. Not a lot of changes from Week 3, but yeah, definitely some changes. So let's jump right in, and we'll start with the new elimination. So I was looking through Conference USA, and I was looking through the MAC. And there are no undefeated teams left in either one of these conferences. And I was looking at the teams, looking at the potential resumes and everything. I don't think any team can make it out of Conference USA or the MAC. These conferences, there was no signature non-conference win for anyone. You might could get there if you're undefeated, but with one loss, I just don't see it. So I'm going to go ahead and eliminate every Conference USA, every MAC team. If you guys disagree with that, if you see a team that you think still has a path, I would love to hear that. But from my opinion, I don't see any team making it out of those two conferences. So we're going to go ahead and eliminate them. Oregon State's got a couple of losses. They have no chance. Washington State, really because of the way they lost, I don't see Washington State can't really make it, I don't think. I don't even know if do they count the Pac-12 as a conference champion? I don't know. I don't even know how that works with two teams in there. Could that be that? Could let's say Washington State wins the Pac-12, they beat Oregon State twice or whatever. Could they be considered for that group of 5 spot? I don't even know how that works. But yeah, I don't see really a path for either one of those. UConn's got a couple of losses, really no chance for them. So these teams I think are eliminated, and that's not a lot of eliminations overall, but I mean it kind of is when you look at how many teams you're eliminating, 2 whole conferences. But yeah, I think that's kind of where we're at right now. The first Power 4 team to be eliminated might be Notre Dame. If Notre Dame loses another game, they're eliminated. There's no chance they're getting in my opinion, at 9-3, because they just won't have a good resume. If they win out, I don't think there's a guarantee that they're in, but I think they've got a really good shot. So that could be the first team again if they were to lose a game. But the tricky thing with all these Power 4 conferences is a team is really not eliminated until they are eliminated from conference championship contention. And so I think the way we did this last year is we actually just kind of did the eliminator based off of at-large bids. And so maybe we'll figure out a way to do that. But let's get to the top contenders. In the ACC, really no change here. I know Clemson lost, but they only have one conference loss. And we know this team has talent. Like, if they put it together, Clemson could still be pretty good. That game between Clemson and Florida State, that's going to be huge now. Florida State looks like they're a legit contender. Georgia Tech beating Clemson, they have a great shot. Miami looks like the best team. So these 4 teams all still contenders. Clemson might have to win the ACC. I don't know. If let's say they win out in the regular season and then they lose in the ACC championship, and so they wind up with 3 losses overall, probably don't get in. So they probably need to win the ACC. Again, Florida State, Miami, they still got a lot of football, and Georgia Tech, they're all undefeated, still a lot of football in front of them. So these teams, in my opinion, are the top contenders. I haven't really seen another team emerge in the ACC yet, but maybe we'll see that. Maybe someone will kind of step up here over the next few weeks, like NC State's still undefeated. Maybe they get into this conversation. They got a road game against Duke this week, so we'll see if they can win that one. And then maybe we throw NC State in here, or maybe there's another team that will impress this weekend and get into this conversation. The Big 12, so I've been trying to list the top contenders. I have no idea. I mean, we'll revisit this next week, because the Big 12 did not play a tough non-conference schedule this year. They just didn't. They played, there were not many Power 4 versus Power 4 games involving Big 12 teams. I look at Auburn and Baylor. We look at Colorado played Georgia Tech. I mean, there were a few, but really nothing to give us, like TCU played North Carolina, but nothing to really show us that, hey, this team is for real. This team is legit. And because the Big 12 is so unpredictable, and because there's so much parity in this conference, I don't think we can even name top contenders at this point. I think maybe next week when we see Arizona State take on Baylor, when we see Utah take on Texas Tech, we'll start to kind of figure out who the teams are. I feel like TCU has a decent opponent. I think they play SMU this week. So we'll learn a little bit more this week. So we're going to revisit the Big 12. We'll talk about the Big 12 next week, because right now I mean, I could throw some logos up here. We could talk about the teams that we think are probably the top contenders, but based on what we've seen on the field, I don't think we know that. Like Utah, it seemed like they probably were, but then you look at how bad UCLA is, and now, I don't even know for sure about Utah. So we will find out about the Big 12 again this weekend, and then we can maybe, narrow this down to some top contenders. But right now, I think everyone's alive. I've seen a lot of comments talking about BYU. BYU hasn't played anybody, so I don't know about BYU. Maybe they are a top contender. Iowa State's undefeated, but they've been barely winning games. So it's really tough to figure out the Big 12 right now because we just don't have enough. The sample size is just too small. So let's move on now to the Big 10. I think Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon are the teams. Maybe Illinois. I'm not convinced on them, but I think there is potential. They're a well-coached team. I tell you, I still go back to that Duke game and the adjustments that they made after they kind of got dominated in that first half. Luke Altmaier is there. They've got the test against Indiana. And then I think we know really for sure where these two teams stand. Are they, let's say the game's close. Then we don't know for sure because then they could both be contenders. They could both not be contenders. If one of those teams, though, is really impressive in that game, then I think that team is a top contender. So maybe that's Illinois, maybe that's Indiana. If the game is really close, then or really competitive, then maybe we still don't know. But I think Penn State, Ohio State, and Oregon, we know about those three teams. We know that they are top contenders, and all three of them, I'd be surprised if any of those three didn't make the playoff. I feel confident that all three of those teams will make the college football playoff. And then in the SEC, we got a lot of teams that are going to be fighting for those playoff spots. LSU, Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Tennessee, and Texas. So new this week, Alabama and Tennessee. Because Alabama is starting to look like we expected them to look. I know Wisconsin's not a great team, but still, that was a pretty impressive win. And, Florida State might just be good. It's so early, it's hard to know for sure based off. You need 2 games against quality competition to really be able to evaluate these teams, and we have not seen that. We've seen Florida State play 1 quality game, but not 2. So once they play another good game, then I think we know more about them than we know more about Alabama. So you need every team, or at least the team you're evaluating and all of their opponents, to have played 2 quality teams. So that's kind of where we're at with trying to figure out, Tennessee has played Syracuse and they played Georgia. But do we really know about Georgia? Because Georgia's only played 1 quality opponent. That's why it's so tricky at this point. But these are the top contenders in my opinion. Texas has the talent. We talked about them last week. Tennessee looked really good against Georgia. I think their schedule gives them a real shot. Texas A&M has a nice schedule. They're looking good. Oklahoma has a tough schedule, but this team might just be good enough to overcome that schedule. Maybe they wind up at 9-3, but maybe that's enough to get them in the playoff. We'll see. And if Auburn beats them this weekend, maybe Auburn lands on this page next week. So a lot of big things happening over the next couple of weeks. After week 5, I think you can take a step back and really look at the big picture and look across college football and figure out who the contenders are and try to rank these teams more accurately and all that. Finally, we'll go to the group of 5 teams. To me, these are the top contenders right now. I think Navy's already like 2-0 in American play, so maybe Navy should be on this list. I don't know if they're going to be that good though. I've still got South Florida. I know they lost to Miami, but this is still a good team, and they have proven that. Tulane undefeated. They might be the favorites right now. 2 wins over Power 4 teams. UNLV kind of struggled in that first game. Everyone, I think, kind of said, maybe they're not that good. They're undefeated. I think maybe they're the only undefeated team in the Mountain West. And we know the talent that's on that roster. Dan Mullen coaching. I think UNLV is in this conversation. And North Texas kind of coming out of nowhere. They were very impressive against Washington State. This is not a team that was really on my radar coming into this season, but maybe they are a team that could get into this conversation. I know South Florida and Tulane do not play each other in the regular season, so I still kind of think those are the favorites, and they could meet in the championship game, and the winner of that one could go to the playoff. But I don't think you can count out North Texas in that conference. Maybe Memphis, maybe Navy. We'll see as we get through a couple more weeks. But UNLV really seems to be the favorite to come out of the Mountain West, at least at this point. It's early. But that's the updated playoff picture. Give me your thoughts down in the comments below.